What did your parents say that broke you? She'll never be normal. My stepdad said it over the phone. Didn't even try to hide it. Just assumed I was always too R-worded to understand what was going on. You see, I have mosaic Down syndrome. For those who don't know, it means that I have an extra copy of chromosome 21 in some, but not all, of the body's cells, which translates to this. I look like I have Down syndrome, and people assume I'm fully disabled, but I have the same level of intelligence as anyone else. And my stepdad never used the R word. Heck, he never even called me stupid. Just looked through me like I was the furniture that came with the house. When teacher said I was making progress, he'd nod and change the subject. When I won an award for my art project, he put it in the drawer, not on the fridge where my half-sister's stick figures lived. But with Emma and Chloe, he was super dad. Read stories with voices, helped with homework, bragged about their test scores. My girls are sharp as tacks. He'd tell anyone who'd listen. Never our girls, never including me. Mom would squeeze my shoulder when he did it, like that fixed anything. Your stepdad means well, she'd say. He just doesn't know how to connect with you. I knew the story by heart. My birth father died in a car accident when I was 6 months old. I was too young to remember him. Mom met David when I was 3, and he'd been generous enough to take us both on. You're lucky, Mom would say. Not many men would raise someone else's child, especially. She never finished that sentence, but I knew what came next, especially a child like me. In the lead up to my 13th birthday, I tried to convince myself that my parents would go all out for me, that they would pull through and finally make a day about me, instead of Emma and Chloe. And in the end, they did get me a gift. Except it wasn't for me, it was for Emma and Chloe. They had gotten them 3 things each that they had circled in the magazine toy catalog. When I reached my hand out to ask if I could share, my dad slapped it and told me to stop being so selfish. And that's how my entire family spent my birthday in a restaurant without me. So I did what I always did when I was bored and alone. I went through the attic. I started off with the usual old pictures of my mom, the ones before I was born. She looked happier, brighter, but then I found a stack of photos I'd never seen before, and they weren't dusty because they were new. They all read Michael 2016 wedding on the back. My hands were trembling because Michael was my dad's name, and he died in 2003, or so I thought. There were more photos. Michael at what looked like Special Olympics events. Michael holding a certificate. Advocate of the Year, Down Syndrome Association. My hands trembled as I found the letters underneath. Dozens of them, all addressed to me, all unopened. My sweet Gertrude, one began. Today you are 7. I wonder if you still love butterflies like when you were small. Page after page of a father I'd never known existed, writing to a daughter he wasn't allowed to see. He talked about his job at the garden center, how he'd memorized every plant's Latin name, about swimming medals and pottery classes, about the apartment he kept ready, just in case. At the bottom of the stack was a court document, custody hearing, Mom's signature on every page. Michael is not equipped to raise a child with special needs, her statement read. It's better for Gertrude to believe he's passed. A clean break. They took me from him because he had Down syndrome, because Mom thought one of us was enough of a burden. That's when I heard the garage door open. It was the sound of my family coming home. My half-sisters were giggling, while my mom was practically singing about how good of a time she had. I shoved everything back except one photo and went to my room, because on the back of it was my dad's phone number. But I was scared to call. What if he didn't want to see me? What if he hated me for not being like the other kids? The breaking point came when Emma took my good colored pencils. It was the only new thing either of my parents had bought for me in 3 years. All I said was, can you just use your own? And suddenly, all hell broke loose. She started screaming, crying at the top of her lungs, saying, Gertrude is abusing me again. Suddenly, my stepdad barged in and immediately took her side. But instead of just grounding me or sending me to my room, he said, no wonder your effing dad is dead. Probably saw what was wrong with you and drove into that tree on purpose. Something inside me snapped. I went to my room and dialed my birth dad's phone number. Oh my gosh, Gertrude, is that you? No one had ever sounded so happy to hear from me. But just before I could respond, my stepdad grabbed the phone and smashed it to smithereens. Full story on channel, link below.